All right, let's get into it. Today, we're diving deep into the 2022 playbook from Shark Tank's own billionaire investor, Kevin O'Leary, aka Mr. Wonderful. With inflation going crazy, he's put together a very specific strategy to fight back, and trust me, some parts of it are going to surprise you. So, where do we even start? Well, you've got to begin with the biggest shocker, his complete 180-degree turn on crypto. I mean, for years, this guy was one of its loudest critics. Now, he's not just playing the game, he's planning to make it a huge slice of his entire portfolio. Right? I mean, what gives? How does a famously tough, skeptical investor like him do a complete flip-flop like that? To really get why he's now betting so big on crypto, we actually need to look at the other parts of his strategy first, the parts that don't seem connected, but they are. You see, what's so fascinating is that his playbook doesn't even start with stocks or markets. Nope. It starts much, much closer to home. Before you can fix your portfolio, O'Leary says, you have to optimize your own personal performance. So the first piece of the puzzle is something you've probably heard of, especially in places like Silicon Valley: intermittent fasting. The big idea here isn't about what you eat, but all about when you eat. And look, the most popular way to do this, the 16-8 method, is actually super simple. It's not some crazy diet. You just fast for 16 hours a day, and for most people, that just means skipping breakfast and then fitting all your meals into an 8-hour window. That's it. And for O'Leary, the results were huge. Yeah, he lost over 10 kilograms, which is great, but the real prize was a major boost in his focus and efficiency at work. This wasn't just about getting healthier. It was about getting that mental edge, that discipline you need to navigate a really tricky economy. Okay, so once he's got his own mind and body dialed in, he turns that laser focus outward to what he sees as the single biggest economic threat out there: inflation. But hold on, it's not the inflation number you hear about on the news. So you probably saw the headlines, right? The official U.S. inflation rate for 2021 was 7%. And you might think, okay, that's high, but is it a total disaster? Well, according to Mr. Wonderful, looking at just that one number is a huge mistake. This is where it gets really interesting. He says you have to look under the hood. Because while the cost of services stayed kind of flat, the cost of the stuff you absolutely have to buy, we're talking food, energy, the real essentials, that stuff was skyrocketing. He says the real inflation rate there was actually somewhere between 12 and 19%. And that right there, that's the real problem for pretty much everyone. Your paycheck just isn't keeping up. The cost of just living is climbing way, way faster than most people's income is. So what do? Your cash is losing value every single day, and your bills are getting bigger. Can you just invest your way out of the problem in the good old stock market? Well, O'Leary looked right at the numbers. I mean, look, on paper, 2021 was a killer year for the S&P 500. It grew by a massive 26.89%. That seems amazing, right? It totally crushes that 7% official inflation number. But here's the catch. When you're paying almost 20% more for your groceries and gas, that 27% gain from the stock market suddenly doesn't feel so powerful, does it? The real gain, the growth in what you can actually afford to buy, is way, way smaller than it looks. And that giant gap between what the market is doing and what your life actually costs, that is the key to understanding his entire strategy. It explains everything. It's the reason he made such a radical move. For him, crypto stopped being this crazy, speculative gamble and became a practical tool. A hedge, a way to generate the kind of returns that could actually beat that real rate of inflation. And just look at how fast he went all in. From just 3% of his portfolio to aiming for 20% in about a year. That is a massive shift. I mean, just think about that. 20%. For a billionaire investor, that is a huge, huge bet. This isn't some little side project. It's a core part of his financial fortress. That just shows you how seriously he's taking this inflation threat. And he's not just throwing all his eggs in the Bitcoin basket either. He's spreading his bets across the crypto world, investing in different kinds of digital assets and technologies. He's trying to capture the growth of the whole industry, not just hoping one single coin goes to the moon. Okay, so we've gone through the whole playbook. Get your personal performance in check, understand the real inflation number, and then use crypto as a powerful hedge. But after all that, O'Leary has one last piece of advice. And honestly, it might be the most important part of all. His point is simple. Learning about money isn't something you do once in school and then you're done. The game is always changing. The rules are always shifting. You have to be a lifelong student of it, always adapting, always learning. So that really brings us to the final question, and it's one for all of us to think about. In a world where the official numbers don't tell the whole story, is your own financial plan built to keep up with the real cost of living? It's definitely something worth asking yourself.